back to Brew 101. As you can see, it's barreling day. So it's been 10 days in the fermenting vessel. So we've got all the equipment out and sanitised that we're going to need. So we've got the syringe for the starting the siphon off. We've got the hydrometer with the test jar. We've got scales with the jug because we're going to need to dissolve some sugar into that for priming. And the siphon tube itself's all been sanitised. So the bubbler is still just under pressure. If I just press the lid, you can see it's still been gassing off a bit. Not nearly as often, obviously, as over the last few days. You can see it's definitely dropped in level through evaporation or whatever. It's dropped about half a litre. You can see a thick layer of trub in the bottom as well, which obviously we're going to try and avoid not to get into the barrel. So first things first, boil the kettle. So we want 50 grams of sugar if you're doing it into a barrel. So I'm just going to weigh that out now. This is 51 grams. That'll do. So we're going to dissolve that with 250 ml. So everyone has their own preference in barrels or bottles, or if you are barreling, there's different types of barrels. I prefer these king keg ones, just because they're big enough on the top here to get your hand in and give them a proper scrub inside the barrel. So obviously that's all been sanitised and scrubbed down now. So I'm just going to put the sugar in now so it starts cooling down. It's always worth double checking as well that your valve is off before we start siphoning any beer in. If you get any problems, some people have had problems with these sealing around the O-ring because they're such a big opening, it's hard to get these tight enough with your hands. Then just put a little tiny smear of Vaseline around the top and that'll help lubricate the O-ring, so it helps you tighten it down. But you don't have to do that every time. It's just something you do early on with your first one, and then you probably only need a little smear every like 5 or 6 times of being used. Again, we've got the 23 litres marked on here of where we're going to fill up to. But obviously on this one we're going to be down here probably because we're only at 20 litres. So I'm just going to crack the lid off again. It takes 2 hands. So I've moved this fermenting vessel up here from down there a few hours ago now, probably about 4 or 5 hours ago, and just left it sitting on the side here, just so if there's any loose bits in there, they've had time to settle back down again from being moved. Oh, it smells absolutely lush. Definitely smells more like beer than the last time that we opened it up. So let's get the siphon tube in there and let's get siphoning. So obviously this has all been sanitised before it goes in. I'm just going to push that all the way down until it touches the bottom. So I don't know if you can see that, just inside there is the bottom of the siphon tube, and it's clipped on the bucket using the clip that comes with it. Obviously that just leaves our end here. Now a lot of people have got different ways of starting these siphons off. The best way that I've ever seen is using these syringes. So again, this has been sanitised. Obviously it's a 300 ml or 300 cc, 300 ml syringe, which means that we can draw down to 250, and that'll be enough then to fill our hydrometer up as well, without having to obviously put your mouth around and suck on that. A much more hygienic way without risking the wort from getting a infection. It's the pipes touching the back of the vessel, so it's running down without falling in, causing it to aerate it. You want to put as little air into it as possible when you're siphoning it from there to there. So we've got a good drop here as well, so it's going to siphon really quickly. Doesn't matter, we're not too bothered about sediment. We need a little bit of yeast to make its way in anyway, because we need that to carbonate, and it's just the same as the fermentation process, exactly the same thing. That the yeast that comes through into the barrel is going to consume that 50 grams of sugar that we put into the barrel at the beginning, and that'll carbonate it because the carbon dioxide will have nowhere to escape to. So it's going to build up pressure in here and force carbonate into itself. So we'll end up with it having a little bit of fizz. So to make sure we get the maximum out of the fermenting vessel, we're obviously going to tilt this in a minute towards where the siphon tube is. You can see it's running nice and clear all the way into there. It's looking good in the barrel now. There's not much aeration in the barrel, which is good. So I'm not too worried about sediment here because it's going to be barreled, not bottled. So it doesn't matter if we end up with a layer of sediment stuck in the bottom of the barrel because it won't get pulled through by the pumps. So what's left to do now is obviously put the lid on. And I'll do that up nice and tight now with me with both hands, just to make sure it's all sealed in there. So you can see I was about right because I know that 20 litres is about that bit there. So yeah, now it's got to have 4 weeks in the barrel if you can dare leave it that long, and it'll be a nice drinking beer when it's finished. Let's see what we've got on the hydro test. So you can see now, even more so after another few days, how clear that beer is. Crystal clear. Smack on the 10-10, aiming for the bottling or barreling. So that's good. Oh, it smells lovely. It smells exactly like the Wadworth that we last brewed. Tastes really good at this. Considering it's still got to age in the barrel. Maybe a few more different flavour notes to come out in it, but that is so far so good. Again, it's a bit odd without the carbonation in it. Obviously it tastes a bit flat. That's going to clarify as well in the barrel. So yeah, 4 weeks time we'll see what we've got then, and we'll get it hooked up to the Angren pumps as well over in the pub shed. So we've got to do another brew now as well on the Brewster Beacon. So look forward to that as well. So if you do want to see us get another brew on, which I'm not sure what we're going to brew next, I'll have to have a think about that. But obviously hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers.